So we've been in office now 1 year, barely 3 months.
3 months, yeah.
We have started some of the campaign promises, as we said. We call it implementing our manifesto.
Okay.
Because we never say it's a promise, we say it's a plan.
It's a plan.
So basically we have started the road network, we've launched it. The drains works have started, the excavation of the waste in the drains, and hopefully after the rainy season, the construction of the drains in Bakau.
Yeah.
And then the road bridges will follow shortly after that, and then the construction of the 15.4 kilometers of tar roads within the municipality.
Yeah.
So we hope that full implementation for that project will be concluding around the end of 2026 to conclude the implementation of the construction.
Okay.
The second thing we said, of course, is that we will open our library and with a public information office. We have already set a date. I don't want to announce it, but it's within this year.
For the library? For
the library.
Okay.
All the materials are there. They're right now cataloging the books with the supervision and support of the national libraries. Outside of that, we talked about municipal transportation. We are pushing very hard. We have very good referrals into where we can partner and get finance, but it's too early. But we are really hoping by next year we can finally get it off the ground. I know many people are doing VAR on us and reminding us, you said this, where is it? But we assure everybody that we are working very hard. Some of these things are not very easy to pull off, especially as a council without much support. We talked about the municipal markets.
Yeah.
We're on the verge of establishing an expansion in the Bakote fish market and establishing a new market in the Serakunda vicinity. For Fajikunda, we are still working on it. Like I said, we are 1 year, 3 months into our second term. So we are just 20% on the way, but we are currently working on it. As far as the other one was, I think it was the affordable housing. We have put it on hold because we want to get these other projects off the ground because they started early, because we don't want to stretch council resources and personnel too thin. But we hope by next year, as we get all the other projects off the ground, we will be going into the affordable housing. On the waste management, we did announce that we had a success in promoting a project with the EU, and the European Investment Bank showed interest, up to 48 million euro. However, because of the scale of the project and because of the financing model that might need government support and approval, we have agreed that as a one municipality, maybe this is too big for us to implement alone, and we need to do it in partnership with other councils and the government. So we've agreed to hand the promotion and the lead to the Ministry of Finance and Ministry of Local Government to take charge. Okay. With KMC, all we care about is let the development come to the people. And we know that project is life-changing because it would change waste management entirely within the greater Banjul area. We are proud that we initiated, but now we will let the government implement, as rightly so, because the financial part is mostly dealing with them. So I think these are the 5 areas in which we talked about in our manifesto. So 2 are on the way and 3 are yet to initiate. But we hope by the end of 4 years, you could come back and grade us at 90%.
And look at, no, we'll come back here and look at.
You know why 2 terms is important, because for me, concluding these projects is integral in my legacy of what I leave behind in KMC, knowing that I cannot come back. Because I will never go back on my word. That's my integrity at stake. Knowing that I will not come back, I will spend all my energy to ensure at least I leave a good legacy. So people can remember that during Mayor Bensouda's time, he achieved A, B, C, D, E. Wow. So I think this is why 2 terms is very important.
It's very important. Now, these are very important projects. Let's look at one project that you, the Mbalit project that you introduced in your first term.
Right.
I say that was one of the most beneficiary as a resident of KM, you know, because I know how much I pay for Mbalit. How are you planning on upgrading it, or just expanding it, because obviously it's growing, KM is growing, and obviously I don't know if you're able to cover everywhere. Is there any plans of upgrading the Mbalit project?
Right, so the Mbalit has a replenishment plan. If you remember, right, when I elected, we did buy 6 more vehicles.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that.
Yes, yeah, yeah,
and the vehicle lifespan is literally 15 years.
Okay.
But we hope within 10 years, there should be resources to increase the fleet or replenish old vehicles. Now, the fleet is at 30 trucks with 20 skip bins.
30 trucks?
30 trucks with 20 skip bins. We carry about 600 tons of waste a day. Imagine if we were not collecting that waste. Of course, there are problems. There's efficiency problems. There's coverage problems.
Yeah.
And this, of course, our residents remind us all the time. But we also want the citizenry to play their part, because we see that it's important to have behavioral change. Many people don't communicate with their ward councillors, because KMC has made it a point to open 19 offices, 1 per ward, for every ward development committee or the councillor. And really, that's where residents should be channeling their complaints or taking their communication. Yeah. But we see a lot of residents, when they don't see the truck, they just dump indiscriminately. And I think that's not the purpose of the offices. So we want residents to also play our part. Their part, sorry. We have access issues, of course, naturally. KMC's 90% roads are unbuilt. Because of generational poor planning, many areas are inaccessible. Because of a lot of illegal settlements on swamplands, on wetlands, our trucks can't access those areas, so we do have coverage problems. But for the most part, the last study that was done, I can't remember the organization, although it was independent, either UN Habitat or one of these organizations, don't quote me, but they came up that now we are experiencing almost 70% coverage within the municipality. When we were coming into office, that was 4%. So by far, the Mbalit project is the most consequential project KMC has ever undertaken. And we are always going to be proud of it, and we will always defend it, but with statistics.
Yes, statistics. One other challenge that, KMC has always faced is the, during the rainy season, obviously, is the accessibility of roads. We did a story in Ibo Town and others. We have seen, I mean, people will tell you there have been a lot of improvement, but there are still a lot of challenges. Compared to other regions, obviously, it's better. But what is councils doing to make sure that residents don't continuously go through what they're going through, having, roads blocked because of heavy floods of rains and stuff like that?
So like I said, these are generational problems of urban planning. And they should be a master plan, deeper thought, longer term vision of how to correct some of these generational wrongs or historical wrongs. What KMC is doing right now is, within our power, what infrastructure can we develop, and thus our road network project. But outside of our power, meaning some of these macro issues or larger scale projects, we don't have the partnerships, we don't have the access to resources or the legislative mandate to make that happen. Only government can, right? So this is why government took out an NDP. These should have been the things that should be featured in the NDP. The first one, 2018 to 2021, a lot of it was not experienced, like youth empowerment, etc. And they abandoned it and basically came out with the YIRWA, right, which speaks about different things, but none of them really addresses some of the chronic issues our residences are facing. So I think these are some of the projects that should be of that magnitude when you're talking about a master plan for our country, a long-term vision, 20-30-year plan. Because what's going to happen, Gambia is facing net immigration because neighboring countries are coming inside, and net external immigration. We are facing a boom in terms of population growth. Look at the numbers we saw in the last census, etc. So those two things, in one of the smallest countries in mainland Africa, or in the world, is the smallest country in mainland Africa, and is becoming one of the most densely populated countries. We really have to master plan. We really have to think about zoning, how people build in our municipalities, how people live. We need to think about the facilities that people use, because every number of people need certain number of clinics, certain number of emergency installations, etc. So a certain number of infrastructure, etc. So this is sort of the big thinking Gambia needs to move us in the future, or we will just year on year be dying with frustration,
Now, you talked about government NDP. I know your first term was not a very good relationship with government.
Right.
Now, this time, how is your relationship with the
Well, there's never a good relationship.
Up to now?
Up to now.
Oh.
I mean, that's what sparked the Commission of Inquiry.
Oh, okay.
Right. So,
the commission started in your first term.
Well, and it's a continuation of the bad relationship.
Okay, okay.
Well, right. So if you remember, it was the first ministerial commission of inquiry targeted for KMC, and we took it to High Court. And when the powers of that commission were removed, that's what brought about this presidential commission of inquiry, meaning the root cause was KMC.
Yeah.
Right. So the relationship is never good, although this is not the way we wanted it. We want a relationship that brings quality of life to the constituents, regardless of the political dispensation of either government. At the end of the day, there are already tools in place to ensure councils are corrected by the ministry as a supervisory body, but they have never used those tools.
But the minister came to KMC, and he definitely openly said he was open to having a very good relationship with KMC.
Right.
And, you know, we were expecting that, you know, that was definitely going to be, that was a sincere call.
Right.
And then, you know, that we were all assuming that's a good relationship.
So this new minister hasn't taken any new action.
Okay.
That has hurt KMC or is adverse to KMC.
Okay.
But he has also not taken any new action to
support,
to improve the relationships. Every minister visits, they talk about unity, they talk about improvement of relationships. And even the minister before with Abasanyang, he came and said KMC is the cleanest municipality, it has done the most in waste management. But literally a month later, he was at a political rally and said KMC is the dirtiest region and basically the most useless municipality. So the politics has hurt relations. I'm not saying this new minister has done anything to impede on those relations, but I'm saying there's a continuation of that bad relations that has not been broken. And that's definitely not how we want it. Because at the end of the day, we want a relationship that makes it easier for us to serve the people.
Now, have the subvention. We know government is supposed to pay 25% of all council the development budget as to you as subvention. You know, if there's a good relationship, that should be coming. Has that been forthcoming?
Exactly. So that should have been, I think, the litmus test. That should have been the sign that relationships are going to improve. We will pay your 25%. It has never been forthcoming. There was a time when we complained they gave every region 2 million. In the case of KMC, that's basically less than 1% of our revenue.